Man, quite the week it's been so far. I just want to stretch out my hand to Damar Hamlin, and I mean, dude, like, I'm with you. The world is with you right now. I don't know how any of us can think about this can look at sport a different way right now. It's things like this where people go down, and I mean, I don't even know, like, dude, I just want to spiritually be somewhere else right now, and that's in the hospital with you. Just my mind hasn't been anywhere else this week. It's been really hard to kind of think about what's coming in the future, and when these kind of complications happen, we want to think that there's more that we can do to help, but right now it's out of our hands, and that's one of the best things that can happen for us is when we stop thinking about ourselves and realize that, you know what, I'm just a person, and there's only so much that I can do right now, and for this is out of our hands. This is not something that we can control. We can't control life and death the way that we wish we could, and obviously huge strides have been made. Damar's been just recovering as probably as well as we could expect, or could have wanted, but I mean, there's just so much more that we are doing for Damar that he probably didn't see coming or expect or think he deserved. But when these things happen, it brings people together regardless of where you're coming from, and there's no difference but to be united. We our differences are put aside, and when calamity and disaster strikes, it brought us together in a beautiful way. And I just love sports, man. I just love it that both sides, the blue and the orange in football, at the Cincinnati game, just regardless of who you were or what you looked like or who you were cheering for or what you had planned that night, it's just it all just gets kind of put aside, and the things that we value as our treasures aren't treasures anymore. They're just, you know what, it doesn't matter, I don't really care. I don't care about the playoffs, the AFC playoff picture. Like, none of this stuff is important. Yes, Damar wants to play football. Probably he's thinking, I mean, we saw this today when we got the news that, Damar wanted to know right away who won the Bills and Bengals game. And right away we could see that, just there's something about sports that's deep and ingrained in him. It's just a passion that is completely irrevocable. This is just deep. This is ingrained in him, and this is something that's never going to leave him, right? And sports is always going to be important to him, and I think that moving forward, he's not going to look at this as something that he should be afraid of, but he should embrace, and he should say, you know what, like, this stuff can happen in sports, and he probably doesn't want to live in fear that this is going to happen again if he can get back on the field. And that's something for all of us to consider, are we choosing to live in fear of this? And it's a fallen world, and we know that, we can acknowledge that, and even in the darkest days, it brings people together, and it does amazing things, and that's something to acknowledge in all of us as humans. And it truly was amazing to witness just the last few days, everything that the world, online, just the people that are physically there, what we were able to do together. And so the latest on Damar's condition is his neurological condition and functions are intact. He is still on a ventilator, needs breathing assistance. He can move his extremities and can answer questions with pen and paper or a simple nodding of the head. Doctors William Knight of Critical Care and Surgeon Timothy Pritz, they held a press conference today. The Bills' Twitter retweeted the live stream link, so I was able to watch it live. and a lot of good came from that, because the reporters were able to ask some questions, and we were able to get a little bit more information, right? So, and also today, Danny Kellington has been identified as the one who gave CPR to Damar Hamlin. Of course, Kellington, the entire medical staff that were there on the field for Damar were incredible, unpayable support that he needed. It was his life-dependent support that he got. God gave that to him, and he's probably thinking like, I don't deserve this, but he's just all of this. It's a huge list of things that has been given freely. Going to the Chasing M's toy drive, raised over $7.3 million so far. And looking back on this, obviously, if the future allows it, if God allows it, he can look back and say that this was just nothing that he could comprehend on his own to happen for him, that he could speak it into existence. This is just the people, of course, obviously the UC Medical Center, everybody helping out for this. When I think about the Bills and the Bengals game being placed at a later date, as in it is to happen, I just disconnect from the Damar Hamlin situation. These two things are just so different. It's like we've got football, whatever. It's just over here, and then we've got Damar Hamlin. His life is the future, everything that's in the balance right now, day to day, right, hour to hour. We're learning, we're getting updates in some capacity. So there's two different things. Obviously we got to transition over to what is going to happen now from a logistics standpoint. I talked to my friend Mohammed yesterday, and both of us agreed there's just no way that the Bengals and Cincinnati are going to be able to make up this time. It's just not going to happen at all. And I think I don't think Buffalo's even going to be able to play on Sunday either. I just don't think it's going to happen. Of course, there's plenty of time from now until Sunday for the Bills to gather themselves to prepare. I don't know how that can happen, because we haven't learned what is going on. What are the Bills doing right now, if they're preparing for New England, how that's happening. And the Bengals were able to get an additional game because they were going to play the Ravens Saturday morning, but they were able to get that pushed back to Sunday. So me and Mohammed were trying to figure out how the AFC can go from here, and what we realize is that you need at least 4 days to prepare for a football game, at least in the traditional sense. Obviously, unorthodox measures can be made, and they're probably considering every avenue. But the NFL, there's just no way that the Buffalo Bills or Cincinnati Bengals can make up 3 games in 10, 11 days. Wildcard weekend is approaching, right? So it's like logistically, it's just impossible. There's no way you can play 3 football games in 10 days, week 17, week 18, and then wildcard weekend, right? So that's just not going to happen at all. The schedule is irrevocable. The Super Bowl is going to happen when they set it out to happen. So, I imagine some changes, there could be changes in the playoff format, but it's just, like I said, they're probably considering every avenue, but realistically, I don't think there's a whole lot that can happen with that. Obviously I just, like I said, it's very difficult for me to, think about, how the playoffs are affected by this, because I really just don't care a whole lot. On Monday night, when I was watching TV for 4 straight hours with Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Clark, and then afterwards, pretty much all night, I didn't even know what the AFC was anymore. I just had nothing on the brain except Damar Hamlin. So obviously all of that, just huge week that's been going on here, right? So, of course, in other news, we've got the hockey, the International Federation Junior World Championships right here in our own Canadian backyard. But it's very far away, so I can't physically go there to feel the impact that a town like Halifax and Moncton, the 2 host cities, are feeling right now. But it's obviously a huge national significance because everybody's engaged in this. Everybody's talking about it. Team Canada rolls past the United States 6-2 yesterday. They would have. Team Canada rolls past the United States 6-2 yesterday. It would have been 6-4 if those 2 disallowed goals were allowed. But I don't think we should really consider that to have impacted the game, because there are a lot of intangibles that we can consider. We can say, oh, well, okay, if those goals counted, then there would have been some momentum change perhaps. But I think that the problem with that is suggesting that if the referee made a different call, that would change anything, because the teams had a big enough break. They probably weren't going to digest the outcome of the referee says that this goal counted. Now I'm going to act a certain way. The goal said that, yes, psychologically you're thinking that, because the scoreboard, when you look at the scoreboard, that psychologically impacts you. However, this isn't something that you can quantify if you're looking back at the game, such that is the game truly, did the end result be affected? Because Canada was able to outperform their opponent, and we can measure that. Canada was able to score 5 goals and an empty netter. I don't think Canada looked at the scoreboard and was psychologically defeated, because the score was going to be tied or their lead was going to be cut down. That was the context for each of the disallowed goals. Now, there's probably too much that I should be going into it, but I do think that it did not make a difference. But on the case of the first goal, so when the first goal happened, I think that should have been allowed, because the defender pushed the forward into his own goalie, which is something that I'm never going to understand. Why would you push your opponent into your own goalie? That's not helping anything by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe you got to move him out of the way, and there's no way to go when you're in the middle of the crease like that. Instinctively, you want to create room, I suppose. But yeah, that goal would have counted in the NHL, because I've seen it happen where defenders are the ones that are initiating the interference, and then it all just kind of gets passed down like a domino effect, and then the goalie looks like he was interfered with. The second goal was interference. The stick, you can't push a goalie into the net with the puck. You can't push the goalie's pads. You can't interfere with him. I was a goalie for 4 years, and I made sure that was not happening to me. And it didn't. I was I don't want to say I was protected, but there weren't players doing that and getting away with it. And I usually got the quick whistles, and that's all you can really hope for. Obviously, it depends on where the puck is, where the referee, what he can see. The view and the view of the referee, obviously very important. That first goal that was disallowed, the Canadian players didn't even react, such that they were thinking that there was interference at all. But regardless, later today, Czechia and Canada, I'll make a reaction video to that. That one's going to be super exciting. This afternoon, we're going to be tuning into that one, probably 3:30 p.m. here on the Pacific Coast. But yeah, lots to get into. It was obviously a very significant week, so we've got plenty more to come.